It's Tuesday, baby. Day number dose of the week. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm dragging today. I ain't really feel like doing nothing at all. I've been working since earlier this morning. I got some shit done for TYT. You know what I'm saying? I handled a couple of other things. I've been paying off shit that I need to pay off. You know what I mean? Making plans. But, you know, sometimes you just got to do shit anyway. Sometimes you just got to make shit happen anyway. And today's one of those days. We got a variety of things to discuss, like we usually do. You know what I'm saying? But yesterday we hit that 4,000 hour mark, which means I now have all the qualifications I need to become YouTube partner, which means after this stream, I'm going to apply. And then after we get all that stuff rolling, we're going to be doing a whole lot of things on here. You feel me? I already done hit people up like, look, we need to do some regular segments together because I done crossed the threshold. You feel me? I done already hit people up, tell them, look, we need to create X, Y, and Z together because I done already crossed the threshold. You feel me? And that's what it's all about sometimes. So you just got to keep on going. But we always get these streams started with a little smoke. We got a couple things to talk about today. It's Tuesday, so shit's still a little bit slow. You know what I'm saying? Just a little bit, but it's all right. It's all right. So we going to put this on while we take this hit, you feel me? Let me go ahead and pull up what we going to do first. Hey. So first, we gonna talk a little bit about Greg Abbott. You know what I'm saying? And he's like, no, I'm gonna keep on busting immigrants up, you know, because people been talking about people are always talking about Greg Abbott. But even Joe Scarborough the other day was talking about how Greg Abbott, when he came out, because it was some guy who ended up shooting up a bunch of motherfuckers because they asked him to turn his music down or something. And Greg Abbott came out and tweeted like, we have to find the man responsible for killing all these illegal immigrants. And so, you know what I'm saying? People been on his head for us. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But we're going to go ahead and take this quick little hit, and we're going to get into shit. You feel me? You can understand that I'm waiting for your love, and I need to hear what you We got this stream going a little late today. It's like I said, I've been dragging today, man. Sometimes when you have like super productive days, like maybe more than usual, even if you are a super productive person, sometimes the next day you're just like, that's kind of where I'm at right now. We're gonna take one more hit, and I'm gonna get into these stories. All right, here we go. Had to pack the bong, you know what I mean? Julio was popping. I got the stream going a little late today, but we made it. And actually what I'm going to start doing now, because like I mentioned, once I hit the qualifications for YouTube partner, I'm going to start turning up on here, which I have done officially. As of last night, I hit everything I need to qualify. And I'm going to start scheduling out my streams and stuff because I haven't really been doing that. I've just been like, you know, you got to take shit a step at a time. So I kind of been like, all right, let me just get my numbers up. Let me just, you know, kind of get the hang of this, get the feel of this. But now that I'm kind of getting the feel of it, now that I've crossed some thresholds, I'm going to start scheduling my streams out just to give people more of a heads up and shit like that. I'm going to get more organized on the channel, and really start treating this like a commodity that people can learn and grow from. Y'all are giving to me, and I'm gonna keep giving back to y'all. So let's go ahead, take this hit, and then we gonna get into the stories for the day. It ain't no fucking fuel. It ain't no damn fuel in this lighter. All right. Yo, I needed that shit because, like I said, I've been dragging today. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start this off. Let's talk a little bit about good old Greg Abbott of Texas. Like I mentioned before, I can't remember the guy's name, but excuse me. The other day, or a couple of days ago in Texas, another mass shooting happened. There was like apparently somebody was playing music or in their yard or something like that. And the neighbors came and asked him to turn it down. Galvatron, my brother. But this guy got it. They asked him to turn his music down, and he came out and like shot 5 people. I think he killed 5 people. And Greg Abbott, saw that as a beautiful opportunity to propagandize and, throw out that typical Republican jargon about illegal immigrants. And so people been on his head. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot came out and basically was like, "Hey man, can you please stop, busing innocent people to these places where they really have nothing and nothing to do." Oh, he was that's right. He was shooting his rifle in the yard, which is yeah, that's even worse. That's even worse. Jesus Christ. Oh, so you live in Texas. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you're right. Because it just, man, it just gets so hard to keep up with all of these. You know what I'm saying? It's just so many that happen. But thank you for the correction, though. Galvatron and Julio. He was shooting his gun in his yard. So let's get into it. So basically, again, what happened? Lori Lightfoot came out, asked him to stop busing immigrants to places, and Greg Abbott was like, "Nah." And this is what's so goofy about it. Texas Governor Greg Abbott told Chicago's mayor he'll continue to bus migrants out of Texas, quote, until Biden secures the border. And what's so stupid about that statement is that what does that even mean? What does securing the border mean? We're gonna get into it because Biden, he's sending 1,500 troops down to the border because of the end of Title 42. So we're gonna read that next. But what does that mean, especially when it comes to partisan politics? Are you saying until absolutely no one is coming into the country? Like that means nothing. All he really said was, I'm gonna keep on busting motherfuckers because I feel like it. In a letter on Monday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott told Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot he continued to bus migrants out of Texas, quote, until Biden secures the border. The correspondence came after Lightfoot sent Abbott a letter on Sunday, pleading with him not to send more migrants to Chicago and to, quote, stop this inhumane and dangerous action. Libby, what up? What up? What up, Libby? Appreciate you for being here. Lightfoot wrote that since Abbott began busing migrants to Chicago, a pattern emerged. Nearly all of the migrants, she wrote, were in, quote, in dire need of food, water, and clothing, and many needed extensive medical care. Yeah, we're just gonna and mind you too, a lot of these busings were happening in the dead of winter. You know what I'm saying? So it was cold. Yo, you having heart issues, Libby? Oh damn, shit! I absolutely hope that you can get on that. Damn, Jesus. I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate your constant support and whatever's needed. You know what I'm saying? If there's anything, you know what I'm saying? Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to say other than I'm here for you in any way I can be. All right, let's see. Gnarl in the building. Oh yeah, and again, like I said, keep in mind also, again, a lot of these bustings were happening when it was freezing cold outside. They bust people to DC. It's cold, be cold in Washington, DC, in the wintertime. It's cold as hell in Chicago. Bruh, it is cold in Chicago in the wintertime. God damn. Lightfoot wrote that since Abbott began, okay, we already read that. Quote, some of the individuals you placed on buses were women in active labor. That's just, that's so callous and sadistic. And some were victims of, and I mean, how far removed, like, how can you do something like that knowingly and just be like, Jesus Christ. And some were victims of sexual assault, Lightfoot said. None of these urgent needs were addressed in Texas. Instead, these individuals were packed onto buses and shipped across the country like freight without regard to their personal circumstances. She added that the city shelters were simply at capacity and couldn't safely house any more bus migrants. The cities begun housing migrants in unusual locations such as police departments and formerly closed school buildings. In his response to Lightfoot, Abbott told Lightfoot she must call on the Biden administration to do its job. And again, that's so childish and lame because it's just like, oh well, it's like this wrong makes this wrong right type of shit. It's like, like what are you fucking 12 years old, Greg? You know what I'm saying? Well, until Biden does what I want him to do, I'm gonna keep on using these people as props, despite the fact that, okay, bro. You're really tough and charismatic. You're choosing such a valiant hill to die on. You know what I'm saying? Like you're a hell of a guy. Okay, where was I? Um, okay, so must call on the Biden administration to do its job and stop migrants from illegally crossing into the country. He said it was ironic to hear that Chicago struggled to accommodate the thousands of immigrants it sent to the metropolitan city, which he said is a quote fraction of what towns and cities across Texas deal with regularly. Turn this down. Abbott said in his letter that the federal government estimated the state would see up to 13,000 immigrants illegally cross the U.S. Mexico border each day once the federal Title 42 COVID era migrant ban expires next week. And again, Biden just sent 1,500 troops down there, which we're going to read in a sec. Since being invoked in 2020 by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, more than 2 million migrants have been expelled from the country under the policy. So, in the last 3 years, well, not even, well, 2 years, really, you know what I'm saying? In the last 2 years, um, 2 million people have been sent back. And Greg Abbott sitting here talking about, well, until the Biden administration does something about all these people coming into the country, as if nothing's happening whatsoever. It's so Jesus. Quote, if Chicago can't deal with 8,000 in less than a year, how are small Texas border communities supposed to manage 13,000 in just one day? So that means I'll just have to put people on a bus and ship them to DC for a political demonstration, as if there aren't tons of other options that you had that you could do with these people. Instead, you choose the most sadistic, callous thing that you could do with human beings who are simply looking for a better place to be. Oh well, I don't have any choice. Yes, you do, motherfucker. You one of the most powerful people in the country. Shut up. Expecting more migrants to be bused to the city, Lightfoot has already requested federal funding from the White House, according to NBC News. In her letter to Abbott, struck back and noted that she'll request the federal government withhold all FEMA funds from Texas if the buses of migrants continue arriving in Chicago. Mm. Yeah, so again, I mean, um, this is just a trend that Republicans have been on. What's the name? Ron DeSantis did that shit too. Where it wasn't it Ron? It was Greg Abbott. He definitely sent people to DC, but DeSantis didn't he send them? Was it DeSantis that sent them to Kamala Harris's like office or house or some BS or some shit? You know. But yeah, it's like Well, until Biden does exactly. Imagine if that was just like a more casual, or not even just a less powerful domestic relationship. Well, until you do exactly what I want you to do, I'm going to hurt you in this way. Like, the fuck type of controlling, narcissistic, abusive ass bullshit is that? You motherfucker. So goddamn stupid. Yeah, Chicago should do that. Biden sending 1,500 troops to southern border as Title 42 ends. Yeah, it was Martha's Vineyard. It was Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, that's where DeSantis sent them. You're right. Um, this is from Fox. Well, this article's from the New York Post, but I'm talking about that video itself. I was trying to see. Well, let's see what they say, and then we'll go into the info in the article. Fritza.
Hey, Bill, good morning. And that development is very significant. It's all hands on deck here at the border. But it's worth pointing out that what's under consideration at the Pentagon, as broken, that news broken by our colleague Jennifer Griffin, is that these active duty troops, 1,500 or so, would be under a transport or administrative non-law enforcement role. That would be different than how Texas Governor Greg Abbott is using the Texas National Guard and Air Guard under Operation Lone Star. Those National Guard troops are actually on the border. These troops under this active duty plan from the Pentagon would be administrative or transport only to free up Border Patrol agents.
At L'Oreal Group, 100.
That was a very short segment. Okay. President Biden will send 1,500 U.S. soldiers to the U.S.-Mexico border in anticipation of the end of Title 42, the public health policy that has allowed authorities to turn back millions of asylum seekers. The active duty army units will focus on data entry, warehouse support, and other administrative tasks to Border Patrol agents. So Border Patrol agents can devote their resources to stemming the expected tide of tens of thousands of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border when Title 42 ends May 11th. The deployment was first reported by Fox News. And again, like the idea that Democratic administrations just be letting people come in here, like that's not a thing in any country in the world. That because you're really not a country if you don't have borders, which is why every country in the fucking world has borders and enforces rights for their citizens versus their non-citizens. Like this, and again, would the United States be the most powerful, militarily and economically wealthy and powerful nation in history? If we just didn't secure our borders whatsoever? Absolutely not. So again, the idea that Democrats just don't secure borders. Oh shit. Oh shit, it's all good, Fritza, because I'm late today too. I was dragging. Normally I stream earlier, but like I was saying, I'm getting ready to start scheduling out my streams, because now that I've hit a variety of metrics on the YouTube channel, now it's time to hit a next set of goals. And those next set of goals include much more organization and really effort on my end, now that I have more of a routine on here. So we're getting ready to do a whole lot of shit. Uh, the active duty army units will focus on data entry. Hold on. Okay, I just read that. The service members will be armed, but only permitted to use their weapons for self-defense. The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment. While it's rare for the Pentagon to deploy active duty troops domestically, Biden on Thursday signed an executive order empowering the Pentagon and Department of Homeland Security to deploy active duty and reserve military and Coast Guard personnel to address, quote, intentional drug trafficking. The authority comes from a December 15th, 2021, Biden declared national emergency to, quote, address the unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States posed by international drug trafficking. Yes, because international drug trafficking is new and we've never dealt with it before. No, it's totally not new. Okay, let's see. Hold on, let me see what else. Okay, I'm just skimming through it real quick. Okay, so look, and again, they're always like Greg Abbott, who we was just talking about. They act like, oh, there's absolutely no enforcement. But see, again, here it says Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz said Monday that in the 3 days prior, agents had 22,220 apprehensions, including two sex offenders, one convicted murderer, and one gang member. So again, obviously, things slip through the cracks, but the idea that America just doesn't enforce borders whatsoever is absolutely it's just not true. So again, when Greg Abbott says, "I'll stop sending people, I'll stop busing migrants when Biden secures the border." Okay, well again, what does that mean? Um until no one's coming over here from the southern border, basically, I guess that's what they're trying to get at. Okay, so here it just again, like people who are traveling and dealing with circumstances like this, basically traveling in filth in heat and sweat, trying to just find some place where they can be a little comfortable, have a little bit of security, and you just throw these people on a bus and ship them to Martha's Vineyard in DC and shit like that in the dead of winter. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. These people are so damn ridiculous. Oh, oh, let's see. Hold up. Okay. Let me see. We got several other interesting stories. Let's go over this. Oh, oh. Over 500,000 homeless in the US. Is America doing enough to combat the crisis? More than 580,000 people found themselves homeless in the United States on any given night in 2022. Many large and dense cities with scarce affordable houses and resources, such as Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York City, are grappling with the crisis as they try to provide adequate resources and shelter for the growing homeless population. Homelessness remains a critical issue in the United States. According to the latest data from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, the crisis has increased by 2% since 2020. It continues a disturbing trend growing over the last decade. The five cities with the highest homeless populations in 2022, according to a Statista report, were Los Angeles with over 65,111 homeless, New York City with 61,840, Seattle over 13,000, San Jose with 10,028, and Oakland, Berkeley with 9,000 homeless between the two. Hold on, let me see. My bad. Let me get this off the screen. A whopping half of America's homeless population resides across the 50 largest U.S. cities and their nearby suburbs. Even more astounding is that 22% of this population is in only two municipalities, New York and Los Angeles. Well, New York and Los Angeles are the two wealthiest and most active locations in the country. So, um, being homeless in a place like this, one, yeah, obviously because of the cost of living, but also being homeless in a place like this, you still have access to a lot of things you need to survive just because, again, there's so much economic activity in places like Los Angeles and New York City, Um, so it's definitely a combination of the two. Um, a lot of homeless people, a large percentage of homeless people. I believe the last time I really saw, it was like like a fourth or close to a quarter of homeless people are working. I was homeless for a little bit. I was sleeping in cars and couch surfing and wherever I could. I was doing that for a while. Um, And then also too, a very large portion of homeless people have serious mental health issues, which then can lead into just obviously like drug abuse, just to cope with what you're going through and what you're dealing with on a daily basis. Um, so a lot of these issues are quite fixable. A whopping half of okay, I just read that. Okay, so here's some statistics about homelessness. A staggering 60% of homeless individuals in the United States stay in emergency shelters, safe havens, and transitional housing programs. 40% of the homeless population had to resort to sleeping on the street, inhabiting abandoned buildings, or other inhumane locations. From 2020 to 2022, the number of military veterans facing homelessness decreased by 11%. 4,123 fewer people, representing a major success. There should never be homeless military veterans. Like literally, absolutely ever. Um if you've been a veteran, especially if you were deployed, I mean, like you should have access to programs that just make that such that that isn't a thing. But then again, homelessness really shouldn't really be much of a thing, period. But again, at least if you're talking about levels, then this is beyond inexcusable. Okay, let's see. Hold on. There was a 3% increase in people experiencing unsheltered homelessness, offset by a 2% decline in people staying in sheltered locations. People identifying as Black, African American, or Indigenous people, such as Native Americans and Pacific Islanders, are drastically overrepresented among the homeless population compared to the general U.S. population. While African Americans who identify as Black only represent 12% of the United States population, they make up a disproportionate 37% of those experiencing homelessness. And oftentimes, the heaviest concentration of Black population in the United States is in inner city areas, and inner city areas in modern times are notoriously stricken with poverty because ain't no opportunities, ain't no industry or economy, but there are solutions, and that's why we are involved in politics and community efforts. Big myths about homelessness in America. Despite its prevalence, there are many misconceptions surrounding homelessness. One of the most common misbeliefs is that being homeless is an individual's choice or a consequence of laziness. However, many factors contribute to homelessness, including a lack of affordable housing, job loss, mental health issues, and substance abuse. Boom. So, again, something like this could knock off a huge portion of people who are dealing with this. Job loss. Um, there's a lot of factors that go into that. Affordable housing is more something that can be directly addressed. Job loss too, but more so in the sense of making jobs just overall more beneficial for people to commit to. You know what I'm saying? Like just paying people more, giving them better benefits and stuff like that. But sometimes the job loss can kind of be just out of people's control. Mental health issues, that's a huge one, and we mentioned that, because if you're just dealing with, well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're emotional creatures, and if you're just dealing with too much stress, too much anxiety, too much depression, too much trauma, um and then people who genuinely have like chemical imbalances and stuff like that, it makes it difficult, if not impossible, to get along well in the real world. And then substance abuse, which these two are linked to very heavily. Okay, so some research showed that New York City policies to abate street homelessness have been unsuccessful, but that doesn't mean that they don't work. Well, it doesn't mean the idea isn't worth pursuing. Rather, I think is a better way to say that. If one thing doesn't work, another thing can. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this is interesting. It says, according to Paget, while well intended, these policies increased rather than reduced alienation because they rarely consider a homeless person's individual needs. such as pet ownership, health issues, or difficulties obtaining identification documents, among other factors. But again, these are the types of studies that show where the issues are, because at the end of the day, the willpower to do and the integrity to give a damn is where you have to start. And with those two things combined, the willpower to do and the integrity to give a damn, you have all you need to try yet again. Hmm. I'm just skimming through this. Okay, so it says in Los Angeles, the city has invested in permanent supportive housing, which combines affordable housing with on site services like mental health counseling and job training. New York City's also focused on rehousing programs. But again, like at the end of the day, and I continue to say this, the biggest issues that the United States faces just really are not that complicated. And unfortunately, especially corporate politicians, whenever a certain type of policy doesn't like completely eliminate an issue, what they'll do is they'll be like, well, we tried, so fuck it. We tried, we halfway tried, we half-ass tried, so fuck it entirely. You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of being like, well, we tried X, Y, and Z, so now let's try A, B, C. And then if that don't work, we're gonna try D, E, F, and all the other letters of the alphabet, because winners never quit and quitters never win. You know what I'm saying? And that's the type of people that we need in office at the end of the day. Shit really ain't that complicated. Again, when it comes to things like homelessness issues, when it comes to things like people drowning in debt, people not being able to afford shit, continuing to legalize cannabis so that we can collect taxes, decriminalizing other forms of drugs so that we can collect taxes off of that, reining in corporate America's power over the economy, raising corporate America's taxes, raising taxes, especially when it comes to assets on motherfuckers. Oh, I'm worth $50 billion and I don't want to pay. Like, okay, well, fuck you, suck a dick from the back. Shut up. We gonna make you motherfuckers pay. I mean, it's really not that complicated. You know what I mean? Like our dumbass, ridiculous healthcare system. Oh, every year you get to sign up for a new system, and oh boy, it's so much fun. Unless you're lucky to have a job that gives you healthcare. Otherwise, it's like, oh, it's a new year. I got to re-sign up for this, and I'm going to be paying $365 a month if I'm single. But if I got a family, oh, that'll be like, 2,000, $4,000 a month. But we typically don't use it. But then when we do need to use it, they're like, nah, we ain't gonna pay for it. Like, these are issues that really aren't that difficult to fix. It's just corporate money in the political machine. It's not that complicated. But if one thing that history has taught me as I continue to study it is that what humanity does is we rise up and we overcome. So it's now our turn, our opportunity, and our responsibility to do the same. We must rise up, we must fight, we must overcome. We can't let these motherfuckers beat us down. Oh no. Oh shit, here we go. Why does everything cost so much? Mike Nice in the building. Why does everything cost so much? Because businesses are, quote, hiding behind inflation to jack up prices. And this is another example. If we can just bar corporations from doing stuff like this, a lot of the issues we face just simply won't be so pressing. It's becoming clear that corporate greed is screwing over the US economy. Oh, this is a fucking narrative story where it's like, oh, I'm not interested in this. And we kind of already know this, but I'm not about to read some fucking story. No, never mind. Nah. Either we getting straight to the point or I'm not going. Stephen used to work at so and so, and the next 3 months. Nah, that's the shit you read on your own time. Hold up. Now we got another one to add to the Florida files. Black drivers 3 times more likely to be punished for loud music in Florida. Black drivers make up a measly 16% of Florida's driving population, but they are 3 times more likely to be ticketed for loud music under a new law, according to a new analysis by WUFT News, citing traffic data and court records. WUFT News reports that 37% of tickets for loud music issued from May to December last year went to Black drivers. It breaks down to 11 tickets issued for every 100,000 Black drivers, compared to 3.9 tickets per 100,000 white drivers. The law against loud music passed nearly 1 year ago is ostensibly meant to cut down on noise. But some of those ticketed say the law is clearly being used unfairly, as it is left up to police officers to decide who to cite. Quote, "Stop being racist. Simple. Something is disproportionately affecting one group and it's designed to be that way. If it's walking and quacking like a duck, it's a duck. It's racist." Carvin Exantis told WUFT News. The owner of a business offering golf cart tours around Miami, Exantis said, "We're getting harassed to the point where I can't even conduct business." uh, we got another quick one to add to the Florida files, just right there. You know what I'm saying? We got a couple more. We got just a few more. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Here we go. Actually, we yesterday we went over a video about the friendship recession, but kind of just in general how in a lot of ways the quality of our lives are represented by or a reflection rather of the quality of our relationships, and how loneliness really just is not good for the human entity. Being able to, be solitary, being able to spend time by yourself absolutely is important, but at the end of the day we're social creatures, and too much of it it's just not good for us. I have a lot of personal experience with this, and yeah, it's slow. Even if you're somebody who's really built for it and really prefers a lot of time by yourself, too much of it, it slowly chips away at you, and the next thing you know, you just can't deal with it the way you used to be able to deal with it. Like it's not, the way it creeps up on you isn't it isn't slow. It's like at first it's like, "Oh, I can deal with this. This is nothing. This isn't a problem." But then the years go by, and then all of a sudden something really big and stressful happens, and you just can't ignore it and brush it under the rug like you used to be able to do. You know what I'm saying? So staying on top of your mental health is incredibly important. The Surgeon General has issued a new report outlining the country's loneliness epidemic, which is said to be as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. Mm, mm, mm. The U.S. Surgeon General is warning of an epidemic of loneliness and isolation in the U.S., saying in an advisory report released this week that social disconnection is potentially as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. In the 82-page report available in full here, Surgeon General Dr. Vivek H. Murthy said he didn't initially consider the issue of loneliness to be on the level of a public health concern when he took office nearly a decade ago. In the years since, however, Murthy says he had his mind changed both by speaking with people across the country who felt socially disconnected and by diving deep into the numbers. And one of the things too, obviously, the COVID pandemic, um, the quarantine, absolutely added to this. But one thing that we discuss here quite a bit is how social media really adds to this as well. Again, especially when you go the younger down you go, like older millennials. Shit, I mean, really anybody can be affected by it, but the kind of the younger down the ladder you go, the more our modern social technology just kind of zaps people's social skills and sociability out of them. As Murthy noted, 1 in 2 adults in the US have reported experiencing loneliness prior to the pandemic. The pandemic, of course, quite obviously worsened the issue, as highlighted by Murthy's office. The pandemic, um, though by its nature, a collective experience hit certain groups in the U.S. harder than others. A key facet here pointed to in the report in that frontline healthcare workers, for example, were faced with a far different pandemic experience than those who were working from home. Social disconnection, or lacking social connection, as it's worded in the report, has not only been determined by Murthy's office to be potentially as deadly as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day, but it's also said to be linked with the chance of premature death from more commonly discussed health issues like cardiovascular disease and hypertension, which can be brought upon again by stuff like stress, anxiety, depression, which exacerbates over time the more that you um, don't socialize, really. And it's not like you have to go out and just socialize with everybody, but just, like, people need to have important relationships that they take care of in their lives. Per Murthy, the healthcare industry has faced additional costs in the billions as a result of the loneliness epidemic, not to mention the immediate cost the issue has on human lives. Check out the full report here. It's okay, my bad. The full report isn't there, but we're not going to look at it because it'll probably undoubtedly be very long. But I thought that this was kind of interesting, just quick snippet continuation of the video that we watched yesterday. So yes, and another huge thing that adds to this as well is kind of the hustle culture, the capitalist hustle culture. Um, just, you got to work, you got to put in more, you got to do more, you always got to do more. But really, sometimes you need to, again, just pay more attention to the quality relationships in your life and take care of them. Men reveal what makes a woman look too desperate. And honestly, the one of the interesting things, and one of the interesting and funny things about like these types of like the rise of like so much like internet content of like dating gurus and shit, and people who have all this dating advice about like how to deal with men and women. And sure, there's definitely some subtle differences, but for the most part, like we're all mostly, especially if you're a healthy individual, we're all pretty much turned off by the same types of things. You know what I mean? Like controlling, possessive behavior. Really, no one likes that. If you expect, again, especially if you're a healthy individual, no one likes being lied to. No one likes being manipulated. No one likes being cheated on. No one likes people who are too insecure and always all up in your face and don't give you any damn privacy and don't give you any time. Nobody likes these things. So again, it's always interesting when you see articles about like what men think about women, and side my brother, and what women think about men. Because again, for the most part, there's really not much difference. There's just not. And I think that the sooner people learn to recognize that. No, facts. None of them have successful relationships. You know what I mean? But basically, again, you know what I'm saying? Like once people realize that like men and women we're just human beings. You know what I mean? Um, it's not that complicated. It's just really not. And what's really interesting about relationships, especially when because unless you're dealing with somebody who you really like, it doesn't really bring insecurities out of you. It doesn't bring traumas and stuff out of you because you ain't really that into them. You feel me? But when you're dealing with somebody that you really love, or that you're really, even if it's unhealthy, that's when shit starts to come out. You feel me? Like, and it's just interesting how relationships teach us so much about ourselves and kind of identify the areas that we really need to work on with ourselves. You feel me? And so much what I've learned, so much of what makes a long-term relationship successful is if you just fucking let it be. just relax. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the subtle things that fuck shit up. Like, for instance, it'll be like, you know, feeling like I have to talk to this person every morning at the same time. That shit gonna fuck you up, man. You can't be tripping off shit like that, man, because people have lives and motherfuckers, like, your immediate prioritization in someone's life is going to be like this because people have their own fucking lives. Like, let's say that somebody is dealing with stress at work, or they're transitioning jobs, or they're moving, or something happened in their family, or they're financially stressed out. Why, if they're dealing with all that, why should you be all the way up here on the list of priorities? You see what I mean? Like, you have to let people, like, again, you can't let for too much, you can't allow for like real disconnection to take place. But so much of what fucks up relationships is people feeling like we have to do shit the same way all the time. Like, you know, we talk a lot normally, but for the last few weeks, and everyone's guilty of shit like this until you get on top of it, until you overcome it. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, now it's a little different. Like, we weren't talking all day, or we haven't seen each other as much. But then when you really sit back and think about why, especially if there's no problems between the two of you, it's probably just because they're busy with work, and they're moving, or they're stressed out, or something happening in their family, blah blah blah. Because then again, you have to take a step back and really examine it. As long as there's no real issues in the situation, then sometimes relationships just aren't going to be super hot and heavy. It's not always going to be like that, and you got to be cool with that. And so much of being cool with that is having your own shit going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, relationships are naturally like this. You know what I'm saying? They're always like this. You feel me? And you gotta be cool with that shit. You have to be. Because again, as long as there's no real toxicity between you two, as long as y'all, honest with each other, y'all communicate with each other, both of you are playing your part, then again, sometimes life just isn't gonna allow for y'all to be super hot and heavy all the fucking time. And you don't need to talk, especially too, like, if, like, man, relationships are it's just so interesting because again, they reveal so much about yourself to you. They reveal so much about yourself to you. I've been loading this bong too. We chat and we having a good time, but I've been loading this bong. But again, man, you gotta be, so much of what makes relationships last is just chill, man. Just chill. Especially as a man or a woman, like I said. And a lot of men, especially like if a woman like works and has her own priorities and stuff, like, once y'all are in a relationship, she's gonna need you to be able to just let her handle her business. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and a lot of men have a hard time with that. Women have a hard time with that too, but a lot of men have a hard time with that. Like, you know what I'm saying? If your woman makes money and is ambitious, then you got to let her handle her business sometimes. Like, it's not that big of a deal. We're gonna take this hit and we're gonna get into this article. Woo! Again, man, it'd be the dumbest shit. Unless it's something major, it'll be the dumbest, smallest shit that be fucking up relationships. Because people will stop being attracted to you if you be tripping all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be the dumbest shit. Like it'd be like, again, as long as sometimes life happens, and as long as both of you are making the effort, then you know you can't let fucking small petty shit ruin your relationship. So let's see what they say. You rely on him for your happiness. Again, these are things. Again, these are all things that like are. This is unattractive to men and women. This isn't specifically like what men say make women look too desperate, and this is just desperation in unattractive behavior. Period. Um, but yeah, no, like basically, when a lot of the times you can get really wrapped up in somebody, and that's not always a bad thing. You just have to be able to be in control. You have to be in control of your emotions in such a way that you're not like out of control and just crazy. um you have to be able to feel good about life and about yourself. You have to have other sources of validation other than your partner's touch and affection and attention. So that's basically all that's getting at. So again, like it's not, this is unattractive for anybody, because then it's like, oh, why haven't you talked to me? Like, and you can see shit like this early in the dating process, especially once you're experienced. Like, 'cause I'm in a relationship now, but like when you're just like when I'm just casually dating, like if women do stuff like this, you'll see it, because it'll be like I, for instance, like for example, I've had women that'll be like just come out of nowhere. Like we literally just talked. Just spoke to each other a couple of days ago, and they'll come out and be like, I didn't what this woman was like, she said, I didn't think you were the ghosting type. I I can tell you're not as into me as you were when things first started. And like we had known each other for like 5 weeks or some shit. And you know what I'm saying? And we had just spoken to each other the other day. Like, what? Like, girl, what are you talking about? Nobody ghost you. And she lives in Puerto Rico and she got 2 kids and she can't have no more kids because she had surgery. So she can't have no more kids. And I don't have kids, but I want kids. So it's like, nah, she crazy because she can't see any of that shit. But why did you ghost me? Like, I just talked to your ass. But again, that's not unique to women or men. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when if people see that you're like that, it's like skirt. Nope, nope. Like no, thank you. Because with that comes manipulation and all types of shit. Uh, uh, uh. Yeah. You don't give him the independence he needs. Mm. Yeah, you got to, again, like we just talked about. You have to be able to you have to be able to give people space, man. And part of what makes somebody, especially over time, one of the biggest things that makes people drawn to you and feel safe with you and want to continue to connect with you is the fact that like they can keep their independence. Meaning, like sometimes people need a lot of time, not necessarily, again, I'm not saying like where you're not communicating with each other, but sometimes people are just busy taking care of shit in life. You know what I'm saying? And if over time people realize like, oh, when I'm really stressed out and emotional and I have to really deal with stuff, this person lets me do that. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can't let people do that shit, they're not gonna want to be with you. And a lot of people can't let a lot of people aren't good at letting that happen. You know, and I've been guilty of all of these things to varying degrees, but with self-work, you know what I'm saying? Like, so he feels suffocated and burdened. So again, like this is the same shit. Like always like needing like unnecessary, like reassurance is good, but then there's unnecessary reassurance. Like always needing a motherfucker, like where they become controlling, like, why did you take so long to respond? Like you can't be doing shit like you can't be doing shit like that, man. And the more you let people do that, the worse they get. You know what I'm saying? Like, and people who have boundaries and have self-esteem, if they start to sniff that that you're insecure and that you're gonna fuck with their independence, they'll start fucking with you at first unconsciously, but then consciously, because then they'll start to realize, like, if I do this or that, this person loses their minds. And once that starts to happen, you can't really respect somebody like that. You feel me? Because it's either like, look, either we both respect one another, or I'm not interested in this. You got to respect yourself for somebody to respect you. You're emotionally high maintenance, kind of the same shit. Again, like, you need constant reassurance that really isn't necessary. Like, we do stuff together all the time. I do what I need to do to make sure, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. And I think that's good that you pointed that out, Galvatron, because there's a variety of ways that, you can heal and grow within relationships. But again, the important thing that you pointed out is that y'all worked on it and worked through it. It wasn't just like something that she wasn't aware of and was just like, no, I don't give a fuck. I want things this way. It wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? So again, and that's what I meant too when I was saying, when relationships really bring these types of things out of us and expose to us what we really need to work on, and how we really can improve, and kind of show us the path forward on self-development. Because um and it can be opposite sometimes. uh you can you can flip to the side where you need a whole lot of reassurance, and then sometimes you can be the opposite, to where you kind of are like more distant. Like, when you get stressed out and emotional, you become more distant, because like, well, being really close to somebody can be dangerous. So, like, there's so many different ways that people deal with themselves within relationships. However, again, you have a good partner when somebody is aware of their issues, but they're willing to work on them and through them with you. Otherwise, shit just ain't gonna work, because we all got problems. You know what I'm saying? So, but yes, that was a good, a splendid Tuesday stream. I enjoyed it. And so we gonna take one last hit, and then I gotta eat me some lunch, and then I got a variety of things that I need to handle today. You dig? Because it is a weekday. I gotta wash clothes. Damn, I just remembered I gotta wash clothes. I got mad clothes to wash. uh. Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, and that's the thing too, like, about, like, how relationships in reality are like, first, like how you said, like, they're like this. So, as long as people are making that effort, playing their part, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes when things are like this, just let them handle themselves. You feel me? You feel me? Yeah, you don't wash clothes every week. What do you mean? Like, how often do you wash clothes? Yeah, I typically wash clothes every week. Uh, hey. So we gonna load this bong, and then we gonna get up out of here. No, I washed clothes last week. At whatever point that I said I washed clothes, or it's Tuesday. Oh, okay, I'm tripping. It's Tuesday. Um, no, I need to wash clothes. But I actually need to get rid of a lot of clothes. No, House, my high ass. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I did say that last week. But yeah, nah, I'm gonna go ahead and get that shit done today. Mm. Yeah. Here we go. Tell them all, 'cause I'm goddamn tired. I'll be going on a ride. What the fuck you Woo. All right, my friends. I appreciate each and one of y'all for being here and for y'all constant support. I will see you tomorrow.